Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, depending on where you guys are at. Welcome to the grand opening of our first ever podcast or video podcast with Folition. And here we have our special guest, Cam Rodriguez from the Philippines women's national team. I'm one of your hosts, Mitchell Hines, out here in Loughborough in the United Kingdom. And alongside me, your co-host for the day is Shalika, who's in Bali, Indonesia. So if I could ask you guys for just some quick introductions, and then we'll go from here.
Okay, sure. So hi, I'm Shalika, and I play for the Indonesian women's national team. I played in the junior team as well, and I'm currently in Bali, although I go to school in the UK and I play football there as well.
Hi, I'm Cam. I play for the Philippine women's national football team. I've been playing since I was 14 for the youth national team and eventually made it to the senior team. Um, I am a proud working athlete and I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Mitch and Shalika, for having me.
No problem at all. No problem. So just a quick introduction of myself. I do not play for a professional football team. And just so that you all know, this is our very first video podcast. So if things seem a little unpolished or there are mistakes every now and then, that's because there probably are. No one's perfect. We're starting out from the beginning. So we'll see how it runs, and we'll go from there. So just speaking specifically to you, Cam, what position do you actually play within the national team? And prior to that, what positions have you played before?
Okay. My most recent position in the Philippine national team is that I'm a winger. So I'm a 7 or an 11 on the pitch. Prior to that, throughout my college career, towards the tail end of my college career, I was a striker, so number 9. But prior to that, my coach would just have fun and try and put me like in the middle or in the side, on top, but definitely an attacking player. So yeah,
Okay.
right now I'm very comfortable with my position as a 7 and an 11, and yeah, I'm just keen to learn more.
Okay. So the videos that I've been sent have been the ones where the Philippines played Malaysia, which was 3-0, and the one game against Timor-Leste that was 7-0. If I'm not mistaken, you actually scored 2 goals in both games. Is that correct?
Yes.
Nice.
Thank you.
So what I'd actually like to jump right into is more upon the topics of actually handling situations during games, what your thought processes are, and just both skill-wise and mentality to begin with. So specifically as a winger and before that a striker, with those goals that you had, I mean, you're the one that scored them, so I'd hope that you'd remember them.
It was a year ago, though. I'm just kidding. It's been so long. I was playing football.
The ones that came within that Malaysia game were heavily down to your pursuing of the ball at times where it either came off the crossbar and you're running into the box to finish it past your defender, or fumbling the ball from the goalkeeper to then anticipate that and take that shot to tap the ball in. So in my mind, when you're dealing with those situations of your teammates having either crossed the ball or shot it, how do you handle those moments when either you're running with the ball or without the ball, to having to anticipate whether it's being dropped or not?
Okay. I think it's important to note, like when we look at the game and like the performance or my goals in particular or my teammates' goals, they really most of it comes from the training before, right? So I think we both know, Shalika here also very much familiar that the game, the 90 minutes that we play, it's really just like that's the performance. But prior to the performance, there are like weeks, months, um and days wherein you just focus on different aspects. So those two specific goals that I scored versus Malaysia weren't were in a way like muscle memory, just because hold on,
That's right.
guys, you want to say hi to my dad?
For sure, for sure.
They
Number
just
one
barged
supporter.
in. Wait lang. Yeah. Okay. I'll take that back from the start. Hold on. Okay. So I was saying, when we look at the game, it's really more of the performance, and the two goals that I scored with Malaysia in the Malaysia game were really just an offshoot of all the trainings that we have. And I think it's important to really start. You know, it's very important that the attitude you bring, or the skills that you show during training, you have to continuously practice that, because eventually, like, the goal really is for it to be like muscle memory and it to show up in the game, which thankfully, with the opportunity given to me, it did, right? And interestingly, my first goal, which came off a crossbar, and I guess also in the second one where I anticipated the fumble of the keeper, uh, I got the insight of rebound and just finishing it from my coach, from my college coach, who really made a big impact on my football career, because um, he was very keen on that, like the rebound mentality, like you don't stop until the ball is inside the net, which was what happened, right? And
Right.
I think I would always give it back to the team, because I wouldn't have that opportunity if they didn't, put the ball in that specific place. But
Mhm.
I think it's important for athletes, especially football players, that there are 90 minutes in the game, but each minute you have to always be like turn on. You have to always be on. Like, imagine if in that moment I was maybe just look at how beautiful the sky was, or appreciating my teammates cross, and I was like, wow, it's so nice. I wouldn't have gotten those goals, right?
Yeah.
So my coaches, like the insights and the small feedback that I got from my coaches, like from them to us, was really one to always turn on, diba? 90 minutes, unavoidable that your mind will daze, but it's really like the discipline of, reeling those thoughts back in and becoming present in the moment, right?
Hmm.
So turning, like, being switching on, and at the same time, just, I guess, just really bring the attitude or the performance that you want in the game by starting it with practice and practice. Every training, it has to be intentional,
For
because
sure.
the goal is for it to be unintentional, right? For it to be something more of like a more natural movement or natural result.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when talking about the lead up to it with the likes of the trainings that you go into and being able to display it on the field, what kind of preparation specifically does it come down to when you're with the Filipino national team? Is it that of video analysis of your opponents, in the sense of, or you recognize who they might be putting out up against you in the left back position or right back, or even knowing the entire defense and what tendencies they may have? Are
Mhm.
those some of the things that you look to almost extract from video prior to the matches? Or do you kind of
Yes.
pick them out as well? And on top of that, I suppose, with the coaching staff that you have, what are the keys that they tend to look at as well?
Mhm. Correct. So those are two very good points that you mentioned, right? And I think I would like to really give props to my coaches, because they have prepared us well, in a sense that they had data and data and videos to prove or to uh, emphasize their points. So correct, we do video analysis right before a game. We or our coach um, sort of prepares like this analysis of what the game plan is, who the specific players are in the opposing team, and at the same time who the players are playing in our team, right? And sort of complementing our game plan against our opponent, right? But prior to that, in the preparation phase, I think it's so important that we had video analysis of our own actual games every after practice games. So all our practice games actually are recorded, and it's very helpful that right after those games we have a sort of session to really discuss. And it's not it's not viewing the whole 90 minutes. It's really our coaches putting in the work, them analyzing it first, seeing it. Maybe they want to point out that we needed to improve on maybe a transition from defense to attack. They
Mm-hmm.
pick specific moments in that game where they cut the film and then they pause it. They put animations where, oh, this is where you should have run, or this is where this player should be. And
Okay.
it's important because um, you as a player would have like a sort of bird's eye view, because when you're actually playing, you don't really see it the way you would see it on the screen, right? Where
Right.
it's a bigger, a bigger like set of play. So as an athlete, it's important to see how you play, how you perform, and to see yourself make that mistake or make that good, or inadvertently, right, make that good run or make that good cross, because it reflects back to your performance, and you get to think and you get to analyze, hey, I did this correct. Maybe I should keep doing this, or hey, I sort of switched off at this moment. All right, so when I see this opportunity, I have to be here. So
Right.
it's very important. And I think adding to that, and I'm just very appreciative that the coaches also, our coaching staff also made those films available to us so that we had time to also review it in our own time. And
Mm.
we had other films also from like top top teams, like let's say Barcelona, how they do certain plays. So because the goal really is to, right, keep pushing your level, keep pushing the level where you're at. So you have to keep watching those who are at that level and aspire to be there with them. Yeah.
Okay. Um, with that, um, if I'm to go back to more game specific things, understandably, the the coaching staff have, and I mean props to your coaching staff, have high importance in how you guys prepare with your games. When you speak specifically about certain situations or parts of analysis um, within games, if I'm to ask you about maybe what things are you most aware of when running drills like one-on-ones, where you're in a one-on-one situation, uh, are you put through that within your trainings? Um, and also here for Shalika to chime in on this, from both a offensive and defensive perspective of what it's like and what are the things that you're trying to achieve when you are in a one-on-one situation.
So, so
Go ahead, Shalika.
um, me personally, in one-on-one situations, I'm very competitive and I don't want to lose. And so I'll push myself to be better than the person that's in front of me, to be able to stop them. And no matter what happens, I'll defend my goal and I'll get that ball. But yeah, that's my mindset with that
Yeah.
one.
Agree.
You have
And I think it shows like in training, right? Like when you do one-on-one drills, like even if it's your teammate and you're all like laughing and having fun, you don't want your teammate to get past you, or you don't want to get scored up, right? So
I
again,
think
it
what
starts in training.
yeah, I think what
100%.
some people don't realize is that the players that are on the top levels, they are extremely competitive. They don't want to lose, no matter how like they're playing against their closest friends, they still don't want to lose.
Yeah.
That's like the competitiveness that everyone has, which I love it as well because, yeah, I like to be challenged. Who doesn't?
Yep.
Incredible.
Yeah, agree on the attitude, right? The never say die attitude, even if it's with your teammates. Because again, the goal of training is you make each other better,
Mm,
by making yourself better and showing up during those drills. To build on what Shalika said, I guess would be um putting those like more aside from the or alongside the attitude and the mindset coming into 1v1, within the game setting, it's also about, I think, awareness, where you are in the pitch. For example, if you are in your defensive half, you wouldn't want to be making risky 1v1 moves, right? Your mindset would be, okay, the priority is I keep the ball, I rotate it again. But it would be different if I was in the attacking position where I'm against just one more player and it's just that one player that stands between me and the goal. So the attitude then would be, okay, I'm gonna beat you because I want to score, right? So awareness of where you are, and aside from that, awareness about who you're with. So football is very
okay.
much a numbers game. So aside from knowing where you are, you also want to see, like for example, in that situation where you're um on the attacking half and you have one defender left with you, right? So if I had a teammate with me and I see it on my vision, then it opens up my options, right? It goes
Yeah.
from just it goes from more than just 1v1, and why not make it like a 2v1 situation where you have more chances to score just because you have more men inside the in that space.
Of
So yeah,
course.
but definitely the attitude of just saying like this is mine, right? Whoever
Yeah.
has the ball in football and dominates the game. So
So when you are put into that 1v1 situation and you're looking at the defender face to face, knowing that they're the only person to beat aside from the keeper, do you already have a set decision of how you want to get around them before you get there as you're dribbling? Or is it kind of, okay, I can try go this way and see if they bite on it. But if they don't, then I have another move with me because I can go left, I can go right. And if you have both those options, then it makes it even more difficult for the defender.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. What the latter answer that you said, right? So the more tricks and skills or I guess game plans that you have in your arsenal, then it's more advantageous to you and your team. And I believe personally, how I deal with it is when I attack or when I come into a 1v1 situation, aside from, again, who I am with, where I am, my attitude really is to keep the ball as close to me as possible because if the ball is with me within my space, then the only person who should be scared is the defender because they don't know what I'm going to do. So it's really
Mhm.
that sort of, um, I guess, uh, the deceit side wherein you always have to let them keep thinking about what you're gonna do next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, if let's say you're up against a defender that's marking you, uh, who's maybe quite taller or quite bigger than you, um, what's the difference between the way you approach your offense against that individual, to one who's marking you that could be actually faster than you? Um, how do you approach those situations with different individuals who have the physical attributes that are varying?
Correct. So personally, I'm an athlete with a sort of small stature. Like I'm small for a football player. I'm 5'3", and I could say that I'm fairly fast. So when I come up against a taller defender, I know that it's harder for them to switch directions. So I use that to my advantage. I make them go to one direction and then quickly switch to another and then accelerate. When it comes to defenders who are fast, and I know they're also fast, um, maybe I would try. Like it really depends, right? It depends on how the game plays out. But if I can't seem to outrun them and I don't want to lose the ball, then I use the space behind them as something that I would want to exploit. So what do I mean by that? Um, when I know that I'm at a situation where I may not win that situation, I call for, or I look for my right, my teammates, and I use the numbers to the advantage. So maybe I could play a little bit of a 1-2 or a down the line over cross. But really, uh, just knowing your options and reading, I guess, is very much important um, while you're in the game. So being switched on and seeing, no, okay, this is not working. So let me try another thing. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, Shalika, if I'm to bring that topic straight to you as a defender, when you know you're going up against the likes of someone with Cam's speed and pace that she has, what are you trying to cut off in that sense, knowing that she's quick off the straight acceleration?
Yeah, I would probably look at my opponent first, and I would judge them. So like, I would judge which foot they're more comfortable with, and I would probably try to spot the weakness. For example, if my opponent is right-footed, then I will try to make this opponent have to use her left foot, and then I will force her to make a mistake, to panic and make a mistake. So I push her to the left foot. She's already not comfortable, and then I'm going to have to be there, and I'm going to have like a really good defensive stance, and I have to be really assertive. I need to know where I'm actually going to bring her to. And once she makes that mistake, I take the ball and I make sure that she knows I'm there, and that like you don't want to like try to do this to me again and again, because like I will win. Like, I have to be more like, I have to show that I'm a dominant player,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, that's how I usually do it. But then again, it sometimes in football it doesn't go as planned, right? And I mean, yes, last ditch effort. I would slide tackle, but then that would be last ditch effort. I will try to not be as reckless, but if I have to, then I will. Um, but yeah, and I also like understand my strong suit and my weaknesses. Like if I know that, for example, I'm not good at intercepting, I would be more patient instead of trying to intercept and just like have my opponent behind me straight, like running straight towards the goal. That would be too reckless. So I just wait and I play it safe,
Mm-hmm.
but then I still have to take risks once in a while.
Okay. So it's really about taking the odds in your favor as a defender,
Yeah.
knowing the tendencies as well, um, from both sides really, uh, as to how you both approach the game. Obviously, one's trying to get past the other, and one's trying to stop them. So, um, all right, uh, just so that you both know, I just received a message notification that the 40 minutes limit is no longer a thing. We've been gifted the
Okay.
unlimited time,
Thank you.
so we got that. No worries. So um, just to continue, um, if we were to focus specifically at a different situation now, um, in that you're having the ball almost inside or just outside the box, and you're cutting inside to shoot while dribbling with the ball. Firstly, what's the challenge for you to shoot um, as you're taking that initial move, whether it's step over, going right or left to cut in from the defender from either corner of the box, and then what things are you looking to be aware of when you try to score, whether that's the goalkeeper's position as you make the move, who are the defenders in front, or your teammates that are there with you within the gaps. And is there, this is maybe a silly question to ask, but to have that expectation of where you're putting it within the goal, and having that almost mindset of, as soon as I take the shot, I know that it's going to be on target, or that's what I'm hoping from that.
Yep. So so my coach would always tell us, like, when you're as an attacker, or as a team that's attacking, when you're already inside of the penalty box, then your opponent's house is burning, right? So um same with you. Like, if your opponent is within your penalty box and your house is burning, and that means like everyone has to compress as much as possible, right? Because you don't want to be scored up against. But when you're on the opposite, when you switch your roles and you're the ones within the goal, uh I think beyond like the the specifics and the details, it really, for me, what resonates is the attitude that you bring. Like, when you're inside of the goal and you're already there, I mean, you're inside of the penalty box and you're already there, just like, just shoot it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and those are that attitude and that confidence to shoot it, again, comes from the trainings and the preparation that you take right before or throughout your preparation stage. Because I'm a firm believer that you feel ready when you prepare. And I think there's this cheesy line that it's that we say, which is, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. So I just focus more on the first part. So you just really need to prepare, right? You need to prepare because that the hours that you put in, the work that you put in, is the one that gives you confidence within yourself, that at that specific moment, you don't think twice already if you can do it or if you can't do it. It's more of like, hey, I did this like 10,000 times in training.
Mm.
Whether or not this shot goes in, I know it will go in, right?
Yeah.
So it's really that attitude that you bring within the penalty box area. But at the same time, it's you being smart also. So by that, I mean, if you're at an angle wherein it may not be to like might not be the best option to score, you would have to quickly pivot, right, and look for your teammates or create another situation out of it. Personally, my favorite moves would be, if I'm on the wing cutting in, I would most definitely just take the shot. But if I
Nice.
don't have that option, I bring it to the baseline and then drive it in or cut it back. So to summarize, really, the attitude that you bring, but at the same time, you're smart about it. You're not just, just go, rah, rah, score. But at the same time, you're like, hey, is this the best option that, that I can make for the team? Yeah.
Yeah. I like that reference of the house burning down if you're in the penalty box. That's good. And also that the quote, in the sense that if you've trained something 10,000 times, I think there's a reference to I want to say Bruce Lee, but I'm not too sure. It's be afraid of the person who's trained one punch 10,000 times, not the one who's trained 10,000 different punches only once. So,
Yeah.
like you said, the preparation is the main thing. And that side of training is something that it's all the things that aren't really seen until you get on the pitch and you actually show it.
Yep.
To almost digress from that and speak specifically to, okay, you have trained, but if I'm your opponent and I know you do certain things well, what is it actually like to go up against someone who maybe plays a little rougher, likes to provoke you, whether that's through trash talk or giving a little more elbows than they should, not really caring too much about the referee's decision, but letting them know that you're there from the get-go. How how do you handle going up against teams that are a little more physical and also play those kind of mind games subconsciously or consciously, if you recognize it?
Correct. So I think that's a fun part about football because it's a contact sport. So if you
Mhm.
right, if you can, and sometimes you will, right, you would be a little bit more physical than others. And I have gone against a lot of opponents who are physical, and
Mhm.
the only way to do that is really to just fight back. Like if they
Yeah.
make their presence felt, you make your presence felt more. Like you're not gonna let yourself be pushed because that's how you let them know as well that, oh, you're not just someone who's gonna be pushed around, right? So I think if you would ask my teammates, I would be one of the people who would really push or maybe pull a shirt or two or really put my body in. And I do that just because again I'm a small player, but
Mhm.
I need to let them know also that I'm there. So like what Shalika said, when you're a defender, and I think that goes back to just being like the ideal athlete. You know, you let your presence be felt, and because in that way it's more of like you want them to be scared of you. You want them to be a little bit more cautious with you, right? So um but at the same time you have to manage that because
Mhm.
again we are human beings and we're emotional beings. So I think it's an added layer of becoming a professional also when you know how to manage your own emotions, that um when you're in that situation you can't let that parang, yeah, I'm gonna say a Tagalog word.
Okay.
So for all the Filipino viewers, don't get picon or don't get irritated. You will, but it's more about just again switching on and reeling your thoughts and emotions back in, and uh, just going back to the present
Mhm.
and just doing your job, right? Because at the end of the day, if you let your emotions take over, then it ruins the rest of your game, to be honest. It's about your performance, right? So if you let it become your emotions, then voila, you'll just get subbed out because you will get no your mind will get um out of focus, and that's the worst thing that you could let yourself to happen inside the game.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Have you ever found it against Indonesia that that's the case?
Wait lang, I think I've only gone against Indonesia once, and in that
Okay.
game, I don't think I played. Oh no, I
Okay.
did. I actually have a picture of, maybe I'll share it in the Instagram later. But one
Yeah.
of Shalika's teammates defending me actually was like pinching my cheek like that. And I was
I
like,
was
at that
doing that
moment I
though.
didn't feel it, but when I saw the picture, it was epic. It was so it's just natural, I guess.
uh, love it.
Yeah.
Shalika, you're gonna have to figure out who that teammate is and then have some
Oh, I
words.
was in the team back then.
You weren't in the
Yeah.
team back then, or you were in the team?
That was in
No, I think I was
2015
Oh, okay.
AFF.
2016.
18? It
2016,
was
I was in the national team yet.
2018, sorry. It was in Palembang, Indonesia,
20,
AFF.
oh yeah, I wasn't there. I was in the under 16 then. So I
Okay.
was in the senior team yet.
But you'll probably, yeah. I have a picture. It's funny. I laugh at it at times.
Okay. Um,
Oh my god.
in I'm gonna go a little more to, I suppose, your you talk specifically about humans are emotional beings. So, with that being said, the emotions such as the nerves that you feel, um, if you do feel them, uh, I
I
was
do.
curious to know, as a Filipino national women's team player, do you get those nerves before the game or during the game? And how how do you deal with those kind of things?
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Like I always get nervous. But one of the strategies that I do to, I guess, shake those nerves out would be in the first 5 minutes, I run it out because nervousness, it exemplifies like in physical attributes, right? So either shaking of the hands or a little bit, you feel a little bit clammy, right? So in the first 5 minutes of the game, I make sure that I run that energy out and that nervous energy out. And almost always I find myself I guess in focused already after that small period. But I think it's important to note that you have to let yourself feel nervous or feel these emotions, because again, a lot of who we are as an athlete is because we are humans, right? Imagine if you don't let yourself become nervous or you don't let yourself become afraid, then one way or another it would uh, exemplify, right? So it's really, I guess, the mindfulness aspect. And being the psych major I am, I advocate for mindfulness. So you have to be mindful of your emotions, your thoughts. You accept it, and then you just let it go. And I guess to emphasize how emotional I am as an athlete. Every time I play, every time the national athlete anthem plays before a game, I almost always cry. So my teammates would be like would attest to that, and
Mhm.
that's part of I guess me releasing also my nerves. Like I get so overwhelmed in that specific moment. Like wow, I'm here, I'm playing for the first 11, and I was not always part of the first 11. So those sort of realizations, it became overwhelming to me, especially in that moment where you're presenting your country and you just have to let it out. And I would 10 out of 10 recommend to cry it out to anyone who would want to cry. Like, just release it. Release
Right.
it either in tears or in running first 5 minutes of the game. It's
So you like
normal.
to just feel the emotions 100% and then
Mhm.
go in. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shalika, if I'm to ask you the same question, how do you deal with nerves, and do you feel nervous at times before or during the game? And also, what is it like to
I
actually hear the national
my
anthem for the
this
first time?
particular game, this one particular game. So it was AFC under 16. The coaches didn't tell us anything, and then they just suddenly. I wasn't the captain then. I've always been the co-captain for the under 16, and then suddenly in this particular game, the coaches were like, "You're captain now." I was like, "Oh my god!" It's like I was so nervous. I can feel all the energy, and I just didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, "God, I just need to get it over." And what I focused most on was to make one good thing happen.
A little technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But yeah, like what she said, she was like, she's focused on just doing that one good thing, and
Mm,
like I agree with that. Like imagine, it helps with your confidence. Like, I would recommend to my teammates who do get nervous, because at some points I was also captain, and then I would tell them, okay, run it out, and then the first touch you have on the ball, make sure it's successful.
yeah.
So don't be like too complicated, because it really does set the tone for your performance as as yeah, playing the game. Because
Oh,
imagine if
really?
your first touch on the ball, it leads to a goal or something.
Mm,
Hopefully not, but right. So it affects your mentality. So if you just, I guess, drill it down to keeping it simple and like doing the small things right, it eventually helps, I guess, in the emotional aspect to build your confidence, and then to help your performance also. Yeah.
okay. Shao, when we were just talking there, it was continuation of the point that you made of focusing on one good thing. Um, if you are to continue from there just before it cut off,
Oh, so but the one good thing.
yeah.
So I basically said that I just focus on doing one good thing, no matter how simple it is. Just focus on doing one good thing. It's going to make a chain of like good things happen. You know, once you do
Mm,
one good thing, it's going to make me do more good things, more good things, more good things. And once I've gotten a hang of it, I think all the nervousness just goes out of my body because essentially I'm just doing what I love the most. I'm playing football. I've always done this since I was a little kid, and no matter how high of a level I'm playing at, I'm doing what I love the most. So I think once I've like shaken off the nervous part, I think I always enjoy it, no matter how big the game is. So
Awesome.
yeah, I play football because I enjoy it, and
Exactly.
I definitely am a firm believer that um, you should enjoy football no matter what, because you started playing football because you enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
Thank
agree.
you. Thank you for that.
RT.
um, if if I'm to uh, go back to you, Cam, and also with yourself right now, Shalika, you can look to answer this whether uh, obviously given how things are now with COVID, um, and I'm assuming not being able to train in the Philippines as well with your teammates, um, and in Indonesia, how often, both now and prior to COVID happening, were you training yourself alone, um, and doing the extra sessions alongside team trainings when you could?
Yeah. Right now during the COVID pandemic, the resources that we have currently are like our club team workouts. But to be honest, and I think I could speak to a lot of my, like for a lot of my colleagues as well or my teammates, it's really hard to know or to train when you don't know also what you're working towards. So that aspect of what am I doing this for? So that's one aspect. Um, to answer your question right now, in terms of the times I work out in a week compared to before, like it's very different. Right now, I would love to be working out at least 3 times a week, but right now, uh, I make time for at least 1 to 2, and it's just physical activity, not even football specific. Sometimes I bike, sometimes I swim with my siblings, sometimes I do football. But prior to COVID and while I'm in preseason or in season, maybe because I with preseason, I would train at least 3 times a week on my own for strength and conditioning work, and at the same time complemented by like football specific skills, like let's say finishing or my touch. And that kind of lifestyle, to be honest, I really miss it. And I wish I could do that for a living, right? As female athletes in Asia, uh, being a professional athlete or professional football athlete, it's not still not yet viable. It's not still not yet present, right? So we have to manage our sports with our own lives, because we will, as much as we would want to play football for a living, we can't yet. But I guess it's just really about making time as well. And I really miss it. To all my teammates who are listening to this, I miss you all. I miss training with everyone. Sometimes we play small sided games, but the quarantine or the quarantine guidelines imposed in the Philippines is very strict. So we've been in lockdown since March. What has varied is how strict the guide the quarantine has been. Right now, it's called general community quarantine, which basically just says life needs to go back to normal, not because we want to, but because the economy needs it, right? Because we need to. So, um, really going back to our discussion, really about making time for football, and especially when you're in like preseason going into the tournament, you really have to make time outside of regular team trainings, because what you're working is yourself. Team training is more of you're working for the team, right? Even though you come into training and you perform, the expectation is you're already good, you're already at a certain level where you need to be. But I think as a professional athlete or an athlete who just wants to become serious about their sport, you need to make time to better yourself also. So that's where extra trainings and extra like help from maybe a nutritionist or a sports and conditioning coach would very much help. Yeah.
Yeah. Shalika, how about yourself?
Well, personally, with the Indonesian national team, um, I'm not gonna lie. Every training center, we have new players, and some old players get kicked out, and so we don't really have any Zoom meetings, anything like that. We don't have any programs, nothing. We don't have any idea whether or not there's gonna be the national team soon. We really don't have an idea. Although I know that all of my teammates are training really hard because they always put it in their story and everything like that. Because um, I think we all miss football. We all miss our normal lives, and that's why I see everyone still training and putting their best effort. And especially the fact that in Indonesia, the COVID rules aren't as strict, and so we get to have like some team trainings once in a while. And so sometimes I meet up with the national team players that live in my city, and we just practice together. We play some games together with each other. And me personally, I'm lucky that I'm still in school, and my school is I wouldn't say not busy, but I would say I have enough time to have my own practice sessions. And so I'm already used to practicing by myself anyways because I live in the UK and I practice alone a lot. And so yeah, I get practice like every single day. I have some form of practice from technical stuff to the more physical aspect, even going to the gyms, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm just trying to come out of this worldwide pandemic as like the best player I can be.
Hmm. I think that's one thing that at least I've been able to see from you is that level of discipline and work ethic. Um, having that ability to almost handle yourself in a way that is very professional, and is one that I highly respect. When it comes to um, the current situation that we're in, I think as a coach, I can only say to the players that I have with volleyball here at Loughborough is that case of, look, you're not training with your teammates, but if there are things that you can control, it's your own fitness, your own abilities and skills, and being able to improve from that point, and also at the same time, your the mental side of things, um, and from that, I think it is also heavily down to the realization, like you've said, Cam, in terms of the pursuit of playing within Asia at a high level, you're still also working, and you have other things that are going on. And I think that's something that uh, people don't recognize, or at least they don't first see that, in the fact that, oh, you're a professional female football player for the national team, you must be paid this much and you're training this much and that's the only thing you're doing. It's just not the case, for many, um, like you said. But just on that point of more individualistic discipline and the things that you go about, um, talk me through uh, whether you have a personal nutritionist or not, or the things that you do within a day at the moment. How is your sleep cycle? Um, what's your social life looking like? And what are the kind of things that you've been taught as in terms of nutrition and what you're eating on a daily basis?
Well, I could definitely say it could be better. Just because like it's very much different when you're outside or in season versus right now where everything's like just a big question mark. And right, but I do try to sleep. The ideal sleeping pattern for me would be to be asleep by 10. 10 is really the golden time for recovery, muscle recovery, and rest as an athlete, and also just for a regular human being, because it regulates your body to wake up at around 6 7, which is a good time to be awake. But I'll be honest with you, I haven't been at my top like disciplined shape. Again, it could be better. Also in terms of the nutrition, definitely no the junk food. I guess it's from years of becoming an athlete as well. What I eat and what I consume, no junk food, no soft drinks, just all those I guess junk. You really do become more mindful of what you put into your body as an athlete. uh but I guess we also have to recognize that we are in a pandemic, and sort of like, to be honest, I feel like I'm in a limbo. So how do I balance like becoming like the stress of working, or the challenge of working a corporate day job versus right becoming like the best athlete you can be, versus the perpetual crisis that the pandemic gives. But again, I think you're correct in what you say, that it does come down to what you can control. And if it's your sleeping pattern, or if it's the food that you take in, I think we are very blessed to be in a generation where there's so much information on the net. So if ever you do want to become more serious about your nutrition and your health, and sorry, and your diet, you could easily access it on the web. But definitely, if you have like a circle or connections within the sporting community, like a nutritionist or a strength and conditioning coach, then it becomes a benefit, or actually, no, it's an investment to you as an athlete. And that was the route that I took, especially when I was still playing last year. I invested in a nutritionist and a sports and conditioning coach. And to give you a better idea, the national team does not have any of those two. They should
Okay.
be like the top Asian countries have those resources, right? If you compare coaching staffs, um, because we were in the World Cup qualifiers in 2018, and we were in the same. I can't forget the scene. We were in the same eating space with the China national team, right? And China is one of the powerhouses in Asia. They come in matching tracksuits, but what's more impressive than like their physical look was the the number of coaching staff they had. Um, we had, I guess, 5 to 6 members. So it's a head coach, a goalkeeper coach, an assistant coach, I guess two PTs, and then one kit man. So that's six. So it varies, right, from 5 to 7.
Okay.
But the Chinese national team, they came in with at least 11 people on their staff. So there was one for like an attacking coach, one is an analyst, one is a nutritionist, and so on and so forth. So those resources, when you get to the high level, those are aspects where you need to really do, or you really have to put importance on, because when you're an athlete, you don't just train your skills, but you train like your whole well-being, right? From what you eat, the food you consume, the sleep cycle that you like stay acquired to. So yeah,
Okay.
I do miss it though. I really wish we're training again. So we're all looking forward to that. I'm sure
Sure.
Shalika also and her teammates. Yeah, really just being with like the teammates. The in Tagalog it's called kulitan, meaning just the banter, playful banter
Yeah.
with each other. Right? Yeah.
Just with them for several months, and like you just know everyone. Like I don't know, like just how they talk and everything like that. Like you live with them, and the fact that you haven't seen them in a long time, it's so hard. It's like you miss
It's
them
weird.
all. So weird.
Yeah. Imagine being with each other almost every day. And then, like, for example, in the Philippine national team, we had we had three tournaments last year. So, like, I'd say 90% of our days were spent together, either being in camp or playing or just the in between. Like, imagine from going from that to like zero. Like I haven't
Yeah,
seen my whole team in in like since December, because everyone went back to their
yeah.
provinces. Some who are here, we just look at each other's stories. So yeah, all looking forward to the day. Yeah.
That's I mean, that's the situation we're in at the moment. It's tough for everybody, I feel, especially when it comes to trainings as a team and not being able to see each other for a very long time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'd just like to lead into a little more of a section that is specific to you. And I do have some questions from fans who have asked in to you specifically, and Shalika can also answer in on these things because I feel some of these questions are specific to you, and also with just playing in the national team professionally and within football life in general. So to start off, if I will, with a question from Anissa from Indonesia. Um, she asks, um, who's influenced you the most to play football? And also, was there within that a source of guidance or mentorship for you, either male or female, sorry, and as you navigated the world of professional football, where so to rephrase that, was there a source of guidance or mentorship for you as you navigated the world of professional football? Um, yeah.
Will that be to me or to Shalika or both of us?
Both of you, if you have an answer to that, I think it's a question that I think applies to both of you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, maybe I could start. Definitely my dad. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like because he's also a football player himself. He played football growing up, grade school, high school, college, became a coach himself. And even up until now, when he's like 50 plus, he still plays in the 50 and above league with all the other dads. So
Shout out
for
to your
me,
dad.
I know he was there earlier. He just didn't show his face, but yeah, him to him. So he very much influenced me and mentored me throughout my whole like football career. But it's interesting because time that he tried to make me play football, I didn't want to play football. I played instead of playing football, I played like five or seven other sports. So
Mm-hmm.
from swimming to taekwondo to gymnastics, I went through it all except football until the day where my my brother came home with a medal, and I was like, "Hey, I want one too. I want to win with my team." So then my dad found like the golden opportunity, bought me boots the very same day or the next day, and he enrolled me in the summer camp. And I guess it all just followed after that. And he has been the one, I guess he's been my anchor through it all, especially during moments where I would not feel too confident about myself or not know how to, especially during times when I wouldn't be performing right. He'd, I guess, just ground me on, I guess, what kind of player I am, and really just the growth mindset of it all. Like, just keep learning, just you learn from your mistakes. Either you win or you learn. So that kind of mentality, I guess, he has really helped me develop. And shout out to him over there in the room.
Yeah.
But yeah, that definitely.
So really, it was in terms of your continued faith and confidence in your abilities. It was from the people that support you the most, I suppose. In terms of not really feeding into that self doubt or the insecurity of your own ability to play.
Yeah. And his kind of support wasn't it wasn't just about the words, like really just I guess the presence.
Mm,
Sometimes again I'm an emotional athlete, so in times when I just cry it out, like he'd just be there and then he'd let me cry it out, and then after, like then he grounds me. So I think it's important for any athlete to have I guess a support system, may it be one or three or as many as your whole team, right? But really those who ground you and just remind you like who you are as an athlete and what you're capable to do, and just a growth mindset through it all. Yeah.
right.
Go Shalika, your turn.
Okay, me personally, both my parents don't like football, and fun fact, I actually started playing football because my all my older cousins that are guys forced me to because they needed another player, which is me. And um, my dad never really liked me playing football. My mom also. My dad wanted me to play other sports that are more feminine, and so that's my mom. So she ended up putting me in like dance classes and stuff like that, so that I would steer away from football. But I think after the first time I played football, I just couldn't keep my feet off like a ball. Like I would always kick the ball. I loved it since I was a kid, and so I think how I got to be here now. I think it's because I'm really hard headed. Um, I never quit football, no matter what anyone told me. Like, you're never gonna make it. There's no future in this and that. And I think I never gave up, and that's why my parents saw how much I love football and saw like how much I put in an effort for it, and so now they're just full on supporting me. They sent me to the UK, um, and now they just telling me basically to work, do my best, and the rest will come after. So yeah, they're really really supportive now, which is really good. It took a lot of years and a lot of convincing, but now my parents are very supportive, and the two of them, my mom and dad, they are the people that really do support me, and of course, I have other people around me as well. For example, here Mitch, that always helped me to get to where I am today, and um, I didn't get here all by myself. There's so many people that helped me.
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. People in your corner. There's always people there. Um, Following from that, we've got a question from Rahul from Oman, and he asks, when or how did you really realize you were good enough to play professionally at the national level? Was there a turning point in your life, or was it a gradual rise through the ranks? Um, I mean, I know, Cam, with yourself, uh, back in Ateneo, and through the seasons that you had, going from striker and the achievements that you've made from there, would you say that that really bolstered your ability to get to where you're at within the national team? Um, and you knew from that point, or did you feel like it was established through, I suppose, trusting the process, for a lack of better phrase?
Um, I think definitely I'm the kind of player who, one way or another, excelled at the role that I play, which is an attacker. So if you think attacker, like I'm definitely someone that you could I'm confident in saying this, but you could rely on, right? But I wasn't always I wasn't always this reliable in the sense that I would be performing at this level consistently. Definitely throughout the years, a lot of like ups and downs, like any other athlete. But I think one of the moments in my career which showed me that had I could give value to the national team was at my very first tournament with the senior team. So I started playing for the national team when I was a youth team, which is actually the shirt that I'm wearing. Live the dream, Philippine team.
Hey,
Yeah, so this was my T-shirt from when I was 14 years old or
wow.
15 years old. It's a very old shirt. So I was playing in the under 16 then. But at the same time, I was already playing, I guess, with the U under 19 and then eventually the senior team. The first time I tried out for the senior team, naturally I got cut because I was the younger player, right? And then thankfully I was able to join. And in that tournament that I joined with the senior team, I scored my very first goal. And I was the youngest player during that senior team. So I was 15 then. I scored versus Malaysia and I came in as a sub and I was like, hey, maybe I can do this. And um, it was just a good feeling to have. And I wouldn't feel that way also if I didn't like wasn't constantly also supported by my teammates because I think that's advantage when you're playing with people older than you or better than you. Like they you aspire to become like them and then they also are keen to I guess continue the development right from youth to senior. Really, it's just right just developing the whole pool of players. But yeah, during I guess that's one of I guess the highlights of my career, and then I took a break actually during college
Hmm.
from the national team. I decided to live the college life through academics, but also through sports and everything in between. And then it was after, and I guess the progress and the development I had throughout my college career um, encouraged me to join again, to try again. So after college, I did. That was 2017. My first tournament back was the SEA Games. And since then, I haven't stopped playing for the national team. So really just a whole trust the process thing, but
Hmm.
also at the same time, like being confident in what you can do also and realizing that, hey, I'm getting better. Like, what am I doing right? What can I improve? Yeah.
Okay. Um, Shalika, I actually have a question here from Alia, and I'd like to get your opinion on it because, especially as a young player, she's, I mean, this is for both of you really, but how does it feel to be part of a generation that is changing women's sports and the culture around it for the whole world?
Oh,
Um,
wow.
that's actually
That's
really
deep.
easy.
It's a big one, but I think
Wow.
very, very good question.
I believe that us women can do whatever men can do. Um, I really don't think that they should like differentiate us and say that oh women shouldn't be playing sports because that's not true. If we do enjoy the sport, then why can't we do it? I'm very proud of the fact that there's so many girls that actually play sports now. Because like long ago, this like women playing football wasn't a thing, especially in Asian countries, because it would be considered taboo. I mean, I remembered when I was really young and I bought my first ever football shoe. The guy that was selling me the football shoe literally said this: "You're a girl, you shouldn't be playing football." And I'm like, "What? Why?" I'm so proud that now if you see a girl buying a football shoe, it's just like, oh, she's buying a football shoe. She's gonna play football. That's it. She might enjoy it. Yeah. I just like the fact that we're now more appreciated in sports. Um, the media is actually shining a light on us as well, not just
Mm,
in men's sport. And I hope that in the future there will be a day where one athlete don't have to have like other work other than being a professional athlete, because that's the dream.
That's a dream.
That is the dream.
To build off of that point, and to take, I suppose, that same question, um, in how you answered that, Shalika, in terms of, and now I'll go to you, Cam, in terms of that media exposure and the spectatorship. It's come a long way in the past few years. But how do you think that we can engage more young people to follow the sport, and help in supporting females within football?
Okay. Do I take that question? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, Definitely the media has gone a long way, but they have an even longer way to go, especially
Mm-hmm.
especially media in the Philippines. And there's this particular group that advocates for that. I'll give a brief shout out to their Go Hard Girls, and their main premise is that you see what you become, right? So if a female player doesn't see other female players in the media or being celebrated in the media or succeeding, then they wouldn't think that they can be successful. But when you do start sharing meaningful stories of female athletes and successes within women's sports, then you inspire a whole other generation, right? The next generation to aspire to become uh, the best female athletes that they can be. And I say meaningful stories because media right now, it's sort of like it depends where we are. So some countries have it better. Some still need work, and I say stories because uh, when we talk about female athletes, there are there are types of coverage wherein the types of stories they release isn't exactly meaningful. So, for example, maybe they're talking about an athlete's body, like which athlete has the best body, or right, who's the prettiest of them all. And
Mm.
if you highlight those kinds of stories in the media, then it doesn't exactly bring about the meaning, or it doesn't exactly move forward what you want for this whole sport, which is right to inspire athletes. Um, and I think it's a challenge right now to the media and to, I guess, regular like the regular athletes, sport enthusiasts. It's how we it's like a challenge to us to um best best how do you say this? To best emphasize and celebrate the female athlete how they should be, which is just becoming a great athlete. Not because they're
Mm.
female, not because they're pretty, but because they're good at their sport. And I think that's the gap and that's the challenge that we have right now. And it's a challenge to us as well because media is also shaped by its viewers. So if we keep looking for those, the shallow type of content, then they will keep giving us shallow type of content. But if we challenge them and seek for more meaningful information, like let's say statistics or um, the journey or the specific story behind the successful athlete or athletes in the making, then the viewers or us, the audience, would also, or sorry, the media would then be challenged to share those stories. So, um, I think the power is in the masses, so it's with us. So we should be empowered to demand the kind of future, the kind of
Mm.
content that we want to see, and the future that we want to see as female athletes, but also just as decent human beings and decent uh and yeah, sports enthusiasts.
Yeah.
There.
Okay. I'll end with uh, this final question, and you guys have touched on some of these points already. Um, but just a final question here, um, from Silas, who's asking, what is the most rewarding thing about being a woman in professional football? And on the opposite side of that, what is the most challenging thing? As you've already mentioned there, but are there things, if each of you were to have one point, Shalika, what would you say is one of the most rewarding things to start with?
For the most rewarding things, let me think about that. I think I personally like to stand out and be different. I don't like to be fake to everyone just so that I can fit in society. And so I prefer to just stick out. And to be a professional women's athlete, especially football in Indonesia, you definitely stick out because it's very rare for women to play football in Indonesia. Thankfully, it's better now, but it was very rare back then when I was a kid. And I think the most difficult part is um, I don't think people realize what we've gone through. Like, like us girls, just to go into the field, I remembered as a kid, I was so embarrassed. I was so ashamed because people around me would be like, "Oh, look, that girl's playing football with guys. Like, what's wrong with her? Like, she's not normal. What's wrong with her? I'm just playing the sport that I love. Why can't I just do this?" But yeah, I don't think people realize the things that we've gone through.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a lot. Like you got like for guys, if you guys want to play football, go ahead. You guys play football, and no one will judge. But us, like women, just to walk in that field, you have to have enough like courage to be able to stand up tall, no matter what the other people say about you, and that's really hard. That's why lots of people, like lots of girls, quit playing sports before they even started because they just can't handle the fact that other people are judging them for it. So yeah, I think that's the most difficult part.
That's fair. Would you say from that you've almost had to learn the lesson of the reality in a sense, whether we like it or not, but we're hoping to change it for the future, in that these perceptions are things that aren't felt with the men's game, but you're wanting that change in that gender equality in the way that, I mean, like yourself and Cam have said, you're professional athletes and you want to be known or distinguished for that, as opposed to all the negative all the negative side of how it's approached from the media, or with the pay gaps and the inequality within that.
Like how they sexualize us in like um, tabloids or like in social media. It's like they're not treating us like we're athletes. They're treating us like we're um, yeah, like it's not like they're not treating us the way that athletes should be treated.
Wait, Shalika,
They're
one
not.
sec. I'm struggling to hear your answer at the moment. Is it okay if you repeat that? Sorry.
I think the fact that they like to sexualize us,
Mm-hmm.
is, yeah, it's really not good. It's like they're here to become athletes, not for you guys to sexualize it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yeah, so just if you're struggling to hear that on the end of the audio, Shalika was bringing up the point of the way that media sexualizes female athletes and focuses purely on the concept that sex sells and that's the way you should approach it. Whereas the main things that you'd be looking to digress from that and be opposed to it is the fact that you're athletes and you should be respected for the profession that you've taken up. The amount of hours that you've put in are those that are equal, if not more, than that of a male athlete. And and that's something that should be respected as opposed to put in a way to create profitability within the female industry of sport. Cam, to finish on this last question with you, what would you say has been the biggest lesson you've learned along your journey as a female athlete, professional for your national team, or the lessons learned within that from college to now?
I guess one of my biggest learnings would be that you have to be you have to believe in the behind the scenes work that you do, that your team does, because at the end of the day, people will mind the results, which is understandable. But when you're, for example, like us in the Philippine national football team, we're still growing, we're still developing. We are developing throughout the years, and our most recent standing shows that. But we haven't exactly reached a point where I guess meaningful yet to either to media or um to like the sporting commissions. Uh, but you have to really just trust in the work that you put in, that majority doesn't see, right? So like you said, the hours that you put in as an athlete, or the fight that you bring in to to become prioritized, right? Prioritized in the sense that you're given a budget to train, to have an actual team or a coaching staff. Those are the things that a lot of people don't see. And you just have to be steadfast because that's really part of the process, right? And when you are faced with backlash from people who do say and criticize you na, oh, you don't win naman, or sorry, I said it in a Tagalog way, but oh, you don't win, why should we like support you? And you just have to like, yes, just be confident in what you're doing as an athlete or a national athlete or as a national team, because you know that you're not doing it for them, but you're doing it for the future, right? Football players that you're inspiring. And you just have to be confident in, or I guess the saying, trust the process, trust in the work that you put in into that process. So it's been, and I think Shalika would agree with this, that being part of the national athlete, you don't, it's not as glamorous as many people would paint it out to be. It's not like, we're not the Messi level with like the high paying jobs or the coverage, the support. But we really just play because we love the sport, and we have this opportunity to represent the country while doing it. So um yeah, so you just trust and I guess enjoy the process, and it's been fun. And I'm looking to keep playing, and I hope I get to play against Shalika one of these tournaments. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay.
So I think, to not take any more of your time, I personally, and I'm sure Shalika as well, would just like to thank you for this and the time you spent in really enlightening us of your knowledge, your experiences within football and personally as well. I think our aim here is really to inspire both the younger generation and those that are of age to really have confidence in themselves, and take that courage to put it into action in doing things that will inspire others within sport and education. I think when it comes to the reason why we're doing this is because, as opposed to the rules and regulations that come with writing things as such with journalism, it's a lot easier to just speak and talk with one another. And personally, as a non-footballer but a fan of the sport, we're here to create a platform that's both sporting but educational, that is highly accessible to the youth and all of those who are really in love with the game that we know it to be, and really offer your knowledge and expertise within the football industry. So just from that alone, and from this, I can tell you that I'm sure people, it would help individuals who are playing the game and looking to learn in pursuit of their own personal growth within football, and as a human being, as an athlete, understanding the processes that you go through. And like you said, it's not all glitz and glamour, and that's something that we need to recognize. But yeah, I would just like to thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
No problem at all.
I'm looking forward to the day where we could all, I guess, physically meet each other. And if you need any other help, like in terms of contacting people or getting more hands on board, let me know, because I do believe in your mission and your vision of, um, at the end of the day, just inspiring more athletes to become better athletes through athletes. it's all
For
about
sure.
it's all about learning about from each other. So
Yeah. I think
congrats to
the
you
life
both
lessons
for
that you can take away from this are just immense. I think the power of the connection in sport, but also football. I think that's the one thing that I've fallen in love with from a young age, is just being in so many sports, building that camaraderie, being able to gain that sense of community to achieve a common goal that's bigger than ourselves. We're looking to really regain that power and refocus the lens in the way we want it to be. So I agree completely.
Congratulations to you both. Yay.
Thank you. The
Congrats on
congratulations
launching
comes to
this.
you.